What's up, investing legends? Today we welcome Pat Zingerella to the program. Pat is the CEO and founder of Invest Clearly, an online platform that allows investors like you to leave verified reviews of passive investment sponsors and ultimately creating an ecosystem that empowers investors to make more informed decisions. We kick off the episode with Pat getting into the nuts and bolts of Invest Clearly and how they aim to democratize the world of syndications and funds while still maintaining that neutrality of a third party and avoiding conflicts of interest. Later on in the episode, Pat shares some insights as to some of the most common pain points that LPs are currently facing and what general partners and sponsors can do to create a better overall investment experience for their LPs. And then finally, given how much insight and data Pat now has access to, we conclude the episode with Pat giving us a brief overview of some of the trends that he's seeing in the commercial real estate sector. Some really interesting insights there. Invest Clearly is a really interesting concept, and whether you're an experienced investor who has invested in a multitude of syndications and funds, or if you are looking to invest into a syndication or fund for the very first time, there are plenty of insights that you will find valuable. So without further ado, everyone, let's welcome to the program, Pat Zingerella.
Welcome to the Investing Secrets Podcast.
Pat, welcome to the Investing Secrets Podcast, my friend. Ready to step inside the vault?
Yeah, thanks, Danny.
Excited
to do it.
All right, sounds good. Don't worry, your secrets are safe with me, man.
Yeah.
So, but I'm excited to chat with you because you've got a wide breadth of knowledge here across a variety of investment asset classes. And so, let's just kick things off here and give the audience a little bit of context as to what it is that you do at Invest Clearly.
Yeah, so I am the founder and CEO of Invest Clearly, and what Invest Clearly is effectively a directory of GPs. Our long-term mission is every GP that's ever existed will be on the site regardless of their participation, and then LPs that provide undeniable proof that they have invested with the GPs can write reviews on them. And so the dual value prop to the LP and the GP, for the LP, it helps them find and evaluate GPs based on the experience of investors that have actually provided proof that they've invested with the GP so they know it's a real experience. The value of the GP drives visibility by leveraging trust through transparency and really helps LPs find them when then they may not even know who they are. So that's it at the highest level. Our goal, our mission, our manifesto is to create a safer passive investment ecosystem.
Effectively, Pat, you are the Yelp for alternative investments, right?
That is how, in essence, I started out by using that. And then I had a couple people of my friends that are in the restaurant industry, and they're like, dude, stop saying Yelp. Yelp has like the sketchiest business practices. I was like, all right. So in tech, if anyone's listening in tech, we're like the G2. It's like a software review website. But yeah, Yelp. I mean, it's Yelp. It's Yelp with more ethics is what I'll say.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it's interesting because I guess, a lot of consumers really don't understand that. But once you run a service business, you find out really quick how sketchy Yelp is for sure.
Yeah.
You're getting bombarded with phone calls every single day, like buy ads, all that stuff. So I know how sketchy it can be, but yes. Yeah, it's a really cool model, man. So where did you kind of come up with this concept? Obviously, I mean, from a high level, I understand that there's a lot of GPs out there who fluff stats, who give bad information, and it's all kind of smoke and mirrors, right? So I guess part of this is effectively to eliminate a lot of the guesswork that goes into vetting a GP. Right. From a limited partner's perspective. But, aside from that, I guess, where did this all stem from? Because obviously you had to have had some background in order to kind of birth this concept.
Yeah. So it was what I would say like a 3-road path that got me here. And yeah, I mean, what you just described is part of it, but it's also the alternative is to really help LPs find good GPs and find GPs that may have been around and doing this for a long time that were like digitally disadvantaged, but have been outperforming projections for the longest time. It's to help them get found as well. And so my path here, I worked in corporate America. It was a company called Gartner. And what we did is we provided IT advisory services to startup companies. And objectivity was a critical piece of it. Like the whole framework of Gartner was based around unbiased feedback. And one of the subsidiaries at the company was actually a software review website, where CIOs, like chief information officers looking to make big technology purchasing decisions, would go on here, read reviews from other CIOs to help with their decision of what's good for them. Mm-hmm. And so when I left Gartner, I actually went to go work for a commercial real estate investor. I can't get too deep into this, but turns out the guy I went to go work for committed a ton of fraud, right? Ton of fraud. Mm-hmm. And when I left that commercial real estate investor who, this guy was rising in notoriety in masterminds, was going on all the big podcasts, and he was effectively the real deal on social media. And like everyone wanted to be around him. Everyone wanted to be this guy. And so when I kind of realized what was going on and I left, on my way home, I started a sales consulting business. And one of my clients was a company called GenRev, and they sell digital marketing services to GPs, right? Lead accredited investor lead gen services. And so during that time, I would actually spend quite a bit of time with GPs, all GPs within the same asset class, around the same AUM. And I had a really hard time differentiating the difference between any of them. And I feel like I'm a pretty smart guy. I was looking to become an LP as well. And so I was like, all right, let me start looking up how to effectively differentiate between these guys. Let me go find a list of GPs all in one place and really see, the differences. I couldn't find that, right? Yeah. And then I was like, okay, let me go see if there's any reviews on LPs. Couldn't find that. And then I was like, okay, well, let me go read articles on what I'm supposed to ask these guys. And every article I found was written by a GP. And I was like, it's not really objective, And so when I kind of combined the experience at Gartner, I combined the experience with commercial real estate investor, and then I combined the experience at GenRev, all of that birthed Invest Clearly.
Yeah, that's a really interesting, it's so true, right? There's no like centralized database, and, obviously you've got like large data aggregators. Yeah. One that comes to mind is Preqin. Yep. Right. They do a really good job of aggregating data. There's other sources like PitchBook and stuff like that, but that's more of like a discover, like it's more of like just like basic information. So one thing that comes to mind though, Pat, just kind of in, thinking about the business model. And I think one of the reasons that review sites are so hit or miss, right, is because most people only go to leave a review when they're pissed off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you solve for that when, because what I could see happening too is like the people who get reviews are the ones, the bad players, and then the star players, they might have a few good reviews, but like it'd be like, oh, well, it's just, would it be enough substance to really like draw positive attention, if that makes sense.
Sure. I would say it ebbs and flows. It's really interesting, right? And the journey of the company has kind of shown this, right? I would say traditionally, you're right on like the review sentiment standpoint. Would also say it's a little bit limited mindset based on the industry, because like these guys have more of an incentive to leave positive reviews than negative reviews. It's in their best interest for their GP that they're invested with to be doing well, if they're actually doing well, right? Like they want to share those experiences. And so what we've seen throughout the life cycle of the company is, I would say, ups and downs of weighting towards positive and negative. For example, I just posted something on LinkedIn where we recently had the lowest trend in review rating over a 30-day period than we have in the history of the company. And that's kind of showing a couple different things, meaning more LPs are coming and finding us organically. And those reviews 100% seem to tend towards negative, right? An LP finds us, maybe they were looking for us, maybe they were Googling the GP and found our website. They wrote a review because it's a bad experience. Fine. GPs are also out collecting reviews, right? So like they may have received a negative review and they say, hey, this doesn't actually represent the true experience. I'm going to request reviews from my LPs. That tends to lead towards positive. What we've seen more and more lately is more LPs coming in for one GP and then leaving another review on another GP. So someone does have a bad experience, they share that, but alternatively, they find the GP that they've also invested with and leaves a good experience. So it's really a balance, and I would say a factor of time. I think the majority of well over 50% of our reviews are positive right now. So it is like it's getting more and more balanced between positive and negative. But to kind of sum up all this rambling to your point, the organic reviews definitely trend negative when people aren't requested to write them and things like that. What that's going to play out over time, I don't know, but we're definitely tracking all that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, look, man, it's a very novel concept. I think that something like that is necessary for more transparency, right, in the industry. Is alternative investments really? I mean, there is not a lot of transparency, right?
Yeah.
Like it's really difficult to know who the good players are, who the bad players are, and so on and so forth. So how does so right now, right?
Yeah.
Like, how would a LP come about, like figuring out or finding out about your service, right? And how would a GP like find out, and where are people kind of like discovering all of this?
Yeah, sure. I'll tell you, that has also evolved over time. And if you really think about it, the hardest thing about building Invest Clearly is we are effectively a marketplace, right? A marketplace has two sides to it. Neither side wants to be on it until the other side is on it, right? So that has evolved over time. Early on, it was a lot of GPs requesting reviews from their LPs, right? GP, we would have some early adopters. They really saw the value in it. They saw how to use it in their investor close cycles. And so they would request reviews from Invest Clearly, or on Invest Clearly, and then would share those reviews with other LPs. That effectively drove what we call the LP flywheel, right? GP requests an LP to write a review. LP writes a review, finds another GP, reviews that GP then finds out about us, and then that cycle continues. Where we're seeing it evolve is now we have not hit what I would call like escape velocity, but LPs are now sharing us with other LPs, right? I can draw like a linear path from one LP to referring us to another LP, or one LP referring us to a GP. But one of our biggest sources of traffic is organic search, Google, AI. Believe it or not, the way our website is set up is we are really, really optimized to show up organically. And what I mean by that is like we rank on page 1 of Google for GPs. And so when the way like search engine optimization and like AI results work is it's user generated content like heavily impacts that. And since our website has so much user generated content and so much backlinking from people like using our reviews and certain things, our site becomes almost as trusted or more trusted than the GP's website. So LPs are going in, they're searching for GPs, and then we're showing up on result like 2 or 3 in Google, and that's how they're finding Invest Clearly. So like no one's going, it's a wild concept. So no one's going and typing in Invest Clearly. Right. They're going in, they're typing in so-and-so capital, and then we're showing up, and then they're finding our site, and then they're driving it and going from there. It's really interesting.
I mean, that is an interesting concept, because it would be the same thing. In a previous life, I was a residential real estate agent. And when you would type in a real estate agent's name, a lot of times number 2 or number 3 would be like Zillow or Redfin.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of the same concept. Now, to flip this, and this is just from a personal kind of like, I'd like to learn kind of like how you're monetizing this. Yeah. I would assume, I want to throw out a guess here, right? Because I think I have a pretty good guess. So you're capturing LP information when they're registering on the site.
It is.
And you would then be selling that information to GPs that pay for that information.
That is not how we monetize it. And so I'll tell you. Yeah.
Well,
that is a common.
I think you'd make a lot of money if you did that.
Well, it's the easiest way. I would say it's the easiest way to do it, but probably the fastest way for us to lose trust. And it also limits our upside. And let me explain why. Yep. So I'll tell you the ways we don't make money. We don't sell the LP content information, number 1. And number 2, we don't take a piece of the deal. So we're not registered with any regulatory agency. We're bound by, 2 of them, but like we're not broker dealers. We're not anything like that. So the way we make, and I'll tell you why. And so our site actually isn't behind a paywall, right? There's no gatekeeping. So an LP doesn't need to sign up for the site in order to use it. So any LP in the world, logged in or not, can go conduct searches, read reviews, whatever they want. Why is that important? Well, it doesn't limit the GP's attention to who we can actually sign up. It also doesn't limit the LP's information to who else we can sign up. So our goal is like full democratization of information, of experiences. And so the way we make money is effectively by selling GP profile upgrades. And what does that mean? Well, on the site, the GPs have the option of 3 different profile tiers. The first one is like completely raw. GPs may not know we exist, may not like us. They still have profiles on there. LPs can still review them. GP finds out who we are. They come in, they claim their profile. This is my company. Let me update some of the stuff Pat wasn't able to find publicly, right? That is also free. And then what we have is an upgraded profile. Upgraded profile essentially allows them to add more things to their profile, right? It allows them to embed calendar links, downloadable documentations, videos, everything that's like a branding, but also lead engagement tool where if an LP wanted to engage with them, they have the ability to do so easily. And so that's how we make money. And so if you think about it, like, why do we do it that way? Well, it's the easiest way to drive objectivity. We don't care if nobody ever invests because they found them on Invest Clearly. It's obviously a chip, but like the second we mess with the deal, or the second we may be some sort of perceived conflict of interest, the second that we're going to lose the LPs. The LP is our user and our product. So then we lose the GPs, the whole business model collapses. And we took that from Gartner, right? Gartner was like, they talked to both sides of the decision-making stack in tech, but they had to remain objective or else they would lose the trust of everybody. And so we really just adopted that and applied it to, and they're I think like $15 billion company that we just applied it to what we're doing here.
It's really interesting. So essentially the main monetization strategy for Invest Clearly is GPs can go in, kind of like update their profile, add more stuff to it, right? Like add more substance to the profile that effectively creates like a stronger marketing presence for them on the website. Now, in the future, right? Like I feel like once you hit like a certain adoption rate or whatever, I could also see like, is it currently being used as a search tool? Like, are you like, hey, I want to look for GPs that have X rating or more that have this kind of investment strategy or invest in this kind of market or invest in this kind of asset class, right? Like I'm assuming that there's those filters exist.
That exists in kind of 2 different places. So like you can create searches just like any other things. You add filters based on investment preferences, gives you a short list of companies that actually meet those preferences. On the second side of things, when LPs do sign up for our website, they get notifications. So they fill out a profile of their own investment preferences. And then every time that there's activity on a GP's profile that matches their investment preference, they get notified. New deal, new review, things like that.
And a new deal and things like that can only be added with the upgraded profile?
No, it could be done free. Like
really?
Yeah, the deals can be added free. It really and I simplified the upgrade a little bit. There's a vast list of features that the GPs get and tools like that. But the really way to think about it is like, when I was selling the lead gen, and this is directly to the GPs, when you think about even setting up your website or people you partner with, the fastest way to get an LP to fall out of your funnel is to create friction for them to find information or to get in contact with you, right? If you're having something that's making them go to an external site, third-party site, whatever it may be, the more chance you are to lose these individuals. We took that information, we aggregated it and said, create a profile that removes all friction for them to find information. Put your deck on here, put your webinar on here, put your calendar on here, put your deal room on here, put all of these things on here so we can increase the chance of them engaging with you rather than clicking and going on to another GP's profile. And so with that, we measure attention. Like we're selling attention just like anywhere else. We're tracking impressions, we're tracking where they're coming from, we're tracking campaigns, how many people downloaded your documents, how many people watched your videos, how many people clicked your call to action buttons. And so, all of this is what goes into the paid profiles, like optimizing impressions, attention, and engagement.
Yeah, I see. That makes a lot of sense, man. It's a very novel concept. I mean, it's very interesting, and I don't see a ton of conflict of interest there, right, in the business model.
Yeah, if there was any, we'd be done, right? Because the second, if you really think about it, the second there was any conflict of interest, no LPs would trust us. The second no LPs trust us, no GP would pay us, right? And so like we can't. Like if you really thought about the easiest way for us to make money is to sell leads, it's to slap an invest button on the website. But LPs would know that those like connections were influenced, and like that's not what we're about. And if you think about it, like look at our site, there's a ton of GPs on there with 1 stars. There's a ton of GPs on there with 2 stars, 3 stars. Doesn't matter to us, right? It's like, it's gonna exist. So that's how we stay out of that completely. Honestly, I also take this kind of personally because I've joked where like, I built myself out of an investment vehicle where like I built this because I couldn't find something like this when I wanted to become an LP. But now like, hey, if I invest, will that weird? Like, will it look weird if I invest with a 5-star sponsor on Invest Clearly? Like, obviously I would be using Invest Clearly to make that decision, but is it weird that like they have it? Is there like a perceived issue around there? And so I've stayed like, yeah, I'm not even going to touch that at all. So yeah.
Interesting. So what verification steps are required to prove that you have actually been an investor, like invested as an LP into these deals?
100%. So like the review process, there's 3 steps to it, right? There's, you choose your sponsor or your GP. The second step is you write your review, and you can publish your review anonymously, right? Like you can toggle to have your name displayed as verified investor if you wanted to, and then publicly you're anonymous. And then third step, before a review is published, every LP has to upload undeniable proof that they have invested with the GP. What does that mean? The most common ones we get, screenshots of them logged into their investor portal, statements, automated emails that they wouldn't get unless they were an investor, like, hey, your K1 has been uploaded to your portal, things like that. I would say the screenshot of the investment portal is the most common one, where I could see the GP's name, I could see their name. You know, we moderate every single one of them. It's not done by AI. We have rejected plenty. We have pushed back on plenty, where we've had to work with the LP to get us better verification. And then once it passes that test, it's published.
I see.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely that is a point of friction, right? But given how important it is to verify, like it's necessary, because otherwise you'd get people leaving bum reviews all day long, right? And that's kind of one of the issues with like a lot of these other sites, like Yelp, for example, right? Yelp's a great example of like people can kind of just like, it's the wild, wild west, leave a bad review. You got a competitor in the marketplace. You're like, screw these guys, I'm going to leave them a bad review.
I've seen all that too. Like the friction is intentional. You know, has that led to less reviews? Probably. But like, for example, I've had plenty of GPs trying to review themselves. And like, number one, it's a violation of the FTC under deceptive marketing to not disclose that. But like, number two, it's like, it's just don't do that. You know what I mean? You're using your own name in the subject line, and we literally have a box that says, you know, check here that you are not an internal employee, and people are checking it, putting their name as anonymous, and then publishing it. And then secondarily, we've had people who were partners, you know, I remember very, very specifically, there was a co-GP on the deal, and they were super pissed at how it went with their partner, got cut out of the communication, got cut out, and tried to leave a review. Like, in my mind, you know, we said, hey, that's not an LP position. You were a co-GP, you had decision-making power. Like, this is for LPs to review GPs. So we had to reject things like that. And so there is a emotion that goes into it. But for the most part, 98% of it has been, you know, great, perfect. You know what I mean? In terms of submissions.
Yeah, it's really interesting, man. I feel like we could take this a variety of different directions right now. I guess to maybe take a step back from the business right now and, you know, pivot a little bit into, you know, the world of syndications and funds. Is it just real estate that you're doing right now, or are there other fund managers or other asset classes that you work with?
Yeah, I would categorize it as like real estate and real estate adjacent. You know what I mean? Like, we've got O&G on there, we've got senior housing on there, we've got storage on there. But I do get like wild requests to add things. I'm like, people have asked me to add a whiskey barrel fund. I'm talking to some guy on Monday that I think does like a stable coin fund of some sort. But right now we're really focused on the real estate niche, and then like, you know, real estate plus operations, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Because I'm in my head, I'm thinking like, well, what about hedge funds, right? Like, what about, you know, you got a bunch of like crypto funds and stuff like that, venture capital firms, right?
I think we'll get there at some point. I think right now it's like, hey, let's win this niche, right? Let's not boil the ocean. Let's prove out the concept. And then it's hard to say no. I'll tell you that much. Like, hey, someone wants to add it on there and someone wants to write a single review. I'm like, oh man, like, let me kind of flag you for the future, you know?
Yeah. It's smart though to like not, I mean, when you're growing a business, you have to know when to say no too. Because like, obviously like our eyes are always bigger than our stomachs and we're like, oh yeah, we can totally do that. Or you see the whole market and you're like, no, I think it's really smart and wise to niche down and then, expand outward once you've kind of captured the market,
Yeah.
This is really cool, man. I mean, this is really, really cool. It's a really cool concept. So where are you, because the cool thing about your business model too, I think, is that you kind of get an inside track on some of the latest trends, right? In the investment world, you're probably seeing things pan out maybe a little bit earlier than like most people, right?
Yeah.
So what are the trends that you're seeing right now in the commercial real estate sector, like as a whole, right? And then where are you seeing LPs gravitate towards right now? Like what are the sectors or like the asset classes rather that like LPs are moving towards and gravitating towards right now? And what's kind of like trending? What sectors are like trending down?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll tell you two different on both the GP and the LP side of things. So on the GP side of things, when it comes to raising capital, we're seeing people not struggle with top of the funnel, but struggle with bottom of the funnel, right? Like everyone thinks that it's harder to raise capital now because leads are slowing down. Leads are not slowing down. Just cost of capital is getting more expensive because LPs aren't converting faster. And so like what we've seen is historically, maybe 2-3 years ago, cost of capital was like 3.5%. It's like probably close to 7 now. And so like when GPs are thinking about their ability to raise at a certain cost, it's really nothing to do with volume. Like the top of the funnel is full. It's just people are taking longer to make decisions and their conversion rates are slipping. I also see a lot of like, what I would say is immaturity in GP business KPIs. Like people will not actually have a true measurement of their conversion rate. Like they'll be like, oh yeah, no, I talked to 70% of people I talked to. It's like, you don't really. Like back the truck up, put all of your money into ads if that was true. It's most of their businesses are like, it's a referral based business, but by the time they start talking to really cold investors, it drops like 1% conversion, right? It's a volume thing. And so what we've seen is almost like a shift in marketing messaging from what I would say previously was based around passive income, financial freedom, breaking free from your 9-to-5, to the message now is like, we are transparent, we're trustworthy, right? It's shifting in that direction. I'm seeing it everywhere. On the LP side of things, it's really interesting. I'm seeing more and more people talk about what you brought about is these like niche asset class, like less mainstream real estate. I'm hearing a lot less about multifamily, a lot more about senior living, oil and gas, private credit, debt. Like I'm seeing a lot more focus on that from the LP standpoint. I'll tell you the biggest pain point I hear from LPs across the board: communication. Biggest pain point. LPs that are looking at a total loss of capital will talk to me for about a quarter of a second, the fact that they're losing their money, and spend the rest of the time talking about the fact that they can't get a hold of the GP. And so like that's crazy. Is what it's wild, dude. It's so controllable. I would say those are the two biggest things I'm hearing from people.
Yeah, that's really insightful, man. That's really, really insightful. So cost of capital is up to 7% now?
Roughly, I would say that's what we're seeing. I mean, it's I would say what we've seen, and so just from like a background standpoint, my partner that I work with runs businesses across like what I would say is like the capital raising funnel, from one company that does lead gen to another company that does like business ops and whatever, and then he's got Invest Clearly. So he's got visibility across all of these things, and that's where it's trending. Is like almost a cost doubled from 2 to 3 years ago.
That's really interesting. I mean, that makes broker dealers look cheap now, right?
I know, right? Yeah. And this is
charging 3%, and
just to like hone in, this is like retail return on ad spend is kind of what I'm talking about. Like the accredited investor. I don't know what that looks like from the institutional, maybe family office side of things. We haven't really got into that realm. Few people on Invest Clearly have signified that they were, family offices, microfamily offices that reached out to GPs, but I don't, our data set is mainly like the retail, Yeah,
makes sense. And honestly, like that, I think that's where the biggest need for this kind of the service/product would be, because like, the family offices, the more institutional players, they are discerning enough, they have enough experience, in theory, to figure, to be able to kind of like figure out who the good players are, who the bad players are, right?
Yeah.
Versus a retail investor, maybe it's their first or their first time investing, or their first time investing in this specific asset class, and they're like, is this person legit, right? So so there's a little bit more, I guess, like it's just like lack of experience overall, right? Like a overall like lack of experience would that your service solves for, right? So it's an interesting one. Now, backing up a little bit, and this is more of like a selfish question, is what lead gen sources are you seeing work right now from a capital raising perspective on the retail side? Like what's working right now and what's not working?
Yeah, in all honesty, like from what and again, I get my information from GPs, they're all still working, right? Like the top of the funnel is a paid, like it's a paid solution. Like you can solve it by going out and spending a bunch of money. And so like if you want leads, like running ads is still working, right? Going to the events is still working. It's all still working. It's just costing a lot more to get the same results as it did 2 to 3 years ago. And so like what I would caution to GPs, and again, this might be a bit like, self-inflating or like, because I'm about like focus on the actual trust factor, like focus on the conversion rates. Like when you talk to an LP, they have options now, right? There are so many options out there to shop. And so like, it doesn't come down to, I need 100 more people. You should be thinking about how do I convert 2 to 3 more in order to, essentially remain at the same cost of capital as you did a couple of years ago, but not need to go spend all this money on leads. Like you have these cold leads in your funnel that may have gone dark because they don't know why they should invest in you versus somebody else. They don't know if you're worth trusting. They don't know all that. That is the sentiment right now in the market, is like, how do I know I can trust this person? Like, how do I know this person is, who they say they are? And like, how do I know what I'm reading about and all of these clickbaity media articles isn't actually happening to them? And so like, that's what we're telling people to focus on.
Gotcha. So what I'm hearing you say is that like you're like I'm assuming when you say ads, I'm assuming you mean like digital ads, right? Like Facebook, Meta, LinkedIn. Even though LinkedIn pricing on ads is like insane right now.
Yeah, I've never when I was, again, I'm gonna probably speak out of turn here, but like when I was working with GenRev, like they tried the LinkedIn, never panned out compared to Facebook. Never, ever, even just a result. I think more people on LinkedIn like drive views just by organically, like just like creating content all the time versus the advertising side of things. But I mean, that's not my arena, so I'm not too sure about that. But I know that Facebook it's where LPs hang out. A 65-year-old looking up his ex-girl, his like high school ex-girlfriend isn't going to be on LinkedIn, right? They're scrolling Facebook, and then the ads are going to pop up.
Dude, that's so true. And I forget now sometimes, because I started using Facebook when I was like 14, right? 15.
Yeah.
But I forget now that like we're trending where Facebook is now like like the Gen Zers apparently don't use Facebook anymore. Right. So it's becoming an old man's playground. And it's like, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense to me. And on the LinkedIn side of things, on a personal note, the thing that's worked for me on LinkedIn has never been ads, but strategic outbound. Yeah. Strategic outbound, like invitation, connection requests, and, kind of drumming up a conversation that way. And then, organic content that leads to inbound lead flow. But I know some guy, one guy who's a fund of funds manager. He's actually been on my podcast a couple of times, Elijah. He started on LinkedIn a long time ago and had a ton of success early on, but he's told me that recently that the organic LinkedIn has kind of dried up for him too.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's very interesting, but cool. Dude, man, I gotta look into meta ads then, because I've never even tried it. But if you're saying that it's working, like, might as well, give it a whirl.
Yeah. You sort of get into the algorithm too. I would say all I see on my ads now on Instagram are investment, ads. So it's sort of like, once you're in it, you're in it.
It's funny because it's really interesting that you say that. I have not gotten served up a lot of these ads until recently. I got served up. It was like 27% IRR, and I was like, "Who are these jokers?" So I clicked the thing and I filled out the lead form. Next thing I know, every single ad I'm getting on the planet, IRR.
Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, well, once you get into the algorithm like that, right? Like, as a marketer, my mind goes to like, well, if all I'm seeing every single day is like 19% IRR, 30% IRR, like, how do I create an ad that breaks from that mold but still gets their attention and still gets them to click? So like, because I think at some point you're like, 30% IRR, this is stupid, whatever. So but it's interesting that people like lead with that because it's like the easiest marketing tool in the world, right? Like, show them how much money they're going to make. But I could also see people getting numb, like being numb to that once they get served up a lot of that, right? Which is kind of where I'm at right now. So switching gears a little bit, the communication thing that you said earlier, I want to dig into that a little bit deeper. Because that's like the bad end, right? Let's talk about like a good experience or like good reviews or things that you've seen that have worked for GPs.
Yeah.
Right. On the communication front, A, and then B, like just in general, like what are the things that LPs like rave about on the site?
Yeah. In all honesty, like they don't need much, right? They want consistency. It is the big thing. I'll tell you like two different examples that I've heard recently that I like. But I mean, it's just like understanding what's going on, good or bad, is what they want to know what's going on, right? They want to know. There are people who I've talked to that are simply like, I don't even know if I'm losing money. I just haven't heard from these guys in 9 months. So like, I'm just going to assume that I am. And so like, I just think the updates, like, tell them this is going well, this is going bad. It's just, don't run when mistakes are made or when things are going poorly. Like, be open and honest. And that reflects in reviews. We have reviews where someone's like, hey, the sponsor's underperforming. They've kept me up to speed. I'm hopeful this is going to turn around. Here's my review. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what they want. I've talked to two different GPs recently. I really like the strategy. One flies into territory and meets with a whole bunch of investors in person. That was pretty cool. I hadn't heard about that. They're huge though. And
flies
I know another,
into what? Sorry?
Like flies into certain like states or territories and meets with investors in person.
Just like a meetup?
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I've heard about the property tours where investors fly to the GPs, but this was the first time I've heard of someone actually traveling around and meeting with their LPs in person. And then another GP that I know, he actually puts all of his investors in a Discord channel together. So like they're talking among themselves, but they're all anonymous. I'm not super familiar with Discord at all. I actually got on there once and my brain was going to explode. But I know they're in there and he's like encouraging them to talk. You know what I mean? To talk about what's going on and things like that. Yeah. And that's how he communicates to them. And so I thought that was pretty cool. But the big thing is just like tell them what's going on. Like, simple as that. Doesn't need to be a 400-page report every time, but just like keep them up to speed on what's happening with their investment. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I've thought about doing something similar, like creating a Slack account for, and the problem is like, the older folks like might not get privy with it, but you can also build Zapier integrations too, where you can like email out the updates that you put on Slack, right? So there's workarounds there. Work in progress, though. Have not done that. But an idea that's floated in my brain. Because, I mean, I agree with you. And honestly, like, it's a good point, right? Like, and I think it's something that like, it seems
it seems so stupidly obvious. It's crazy that more GPs aren't doing this. Like, why not build a little Discord? Why not build a little community or group page that you just post updates to? Because then like that creates community, and like I think it just makes it easier to get referrals too.
Yeah, I would agree. I would 100% agree. Yeah.
Speaking of referrals, what are the top couple things? I won't put a number on it, but like top couple strategies that you've seen GPs deploy to get referrals from their LPs. Like, are you seeing any consistent things on that side of things?
Yeah, I would say I'll start by telling you where I see working like least all the way up to best. The mass email outreach is always tough, right? It's leave us a review, right? It's always really, really tough. It's not personalized. It's not like these LPs are their people, right? It's like they want to help you. They want to feel wanted. And so I always tell people, like, if you're going to collect reviews, first of all, no one ever wants to be the first, right? Like if you're going out and we also see it in the organic stuff where if a bad review comes in, oftentimes we'll see like 3 or 4 pile in right after it. So people were probably just following along to not be the first person to write the review. But when they felt confident someone else did, bam, here they all came. And so like reaching out to their LPs, maybe your top 10 most engaged LPs, someone that's reaching out to you looking for updates, someone that may be texting you, say, hey, look, we're working on driving social proof, right? More investors leads to better opportunities, leads to more stuff for you. Like, this is what we're working on. And, would you review us? Here you go. And like, that's where I'm seeing the most amount of like return. And then also like, don't just do it once, right? People think like, I'm going to send this out once and then I'm going to get 5 reviews and we're going to be golden. Like, the best people are doing it constantly, right? Reach out and ask them if they're not reviewing right now, do it again. There's a lot of limited mindset around reviews, but like the people that are really driving it on our site are getting a ton of value on it. And so I would say make it personalized, make it one-to-one, start there and then trickle down the whole email is based on the call to action to write a review. The last one is like write a review at the end of your newsletter and your whatever it may be.
Interesting. So that's on the review front. And I would totally like agree with you. Like, yeah, mass anything. I mean, it's weird because even in the age of AI, right? And we're starting to kind of like broach the territory where like you can personalize mass email, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
But at least for now, people can still snuff that shit out. They can totally still stuff it out. Like, it's not, and it just feels so, I don't know. You just feel like, I don't want, like, what is this like blast, right? Like,
It's interesting you bring that up because my background is outbound sales. Like, everything I've done in my past life has been outside sales. And this was before all of the automation tools were like, if we were sending out a mass email, there was like a 27-step process that you'd have to merge Word with Excel with Outlook. It was wild and no one really knew how to do it. Now, it was sort of like a script flip for us because what I've known my whole life doesn't work anymore. Right. And so like we got out there and we've sent campaign after campaign after campaign after campaign. It doesn't land. Right. But then like this seems to be more of like an inbound thing. Right. Like, we create content, which I've never really cared about in the past because I've always leaned on the outbound, but the outbound's not working. So we got to focus on the inbound and then like, the network effect option here. And so like we've completely shifted away from outbound to like an inbound strategy. So it's and I bring that up just because you talked about being able to kind of snuff it out, and it's so saturated now with tools that it's really difficult to differentiate. Genuinely, like, I get requests from AI bots all the time where it's got like my whole work history in it, and I was like, man, like, this isn't obviously a real person, but it's like I got one on Twitter the other day. It was wild. It was like everything I've ever tweeted about in like a message. It's like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah. There's a lot of tools out there right now. Like, there's this one tool that I just recently came to my attention called like Clay.
Yeah.
And it can create like basically like templated, personalized mass emails, right? Like, or emails at scale, right? So yeah, it looks like one-to-one, but really it's one-to-many.
Yeah.
And it kind of crazy, but yeah, man.
Yeah, Clay's the real deal.
Yeah. Oh, you've been using it. Huh?
We don't use it for sales, but like, I know, I mean, the data aggregation, everything, and it's the real deal.
Yeah, I've heard some really good things about it. And personally, believe it or not, one thing that has worked for me very well, actually, speaking of outbound, is cold email. So I've still found a way to make it work for me on the capital raising side of things. But yeah, I mean, it has to, like, it's taken a long time to dial that system in. Yeah. Right. Taken a really, really long time. Yeah. So just to put a bow on that piece of the conversation, we talked about reviews. What about like referrals, right? So like if a GP wants referrals, what have you seen work in your ecosystem? And like, what have you seen not work in your ecosystem?
What do you mean by referrals? Like to
LPs referring other LPs to them?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. I have no idea. It's something we're trying to solve internally, so like, even if I really don't know how the GPs are getting LPs to refer other LPs. I know that, like, I know people are doing it. Right. I've talked to plenty of LPs that will tell me that they've invested with this one GP and then brought a whole bunch of people in after. I don't know if there's like real tried and true tested strategy around it. I haven't really heard one across the board. Again, we're trying to figure that out too, is like, how do you actually, let me think, because it's really, really interesting, because there's a lot of people that I don't know the answer to that, Danny. I'd have to really, I've never really asked anyone that, like, how are you getting your LPs to refer other LPs? I'm not sure.
I mean, it's like, do a good job, right? Like,
yeah, that's it. I guess, yeah.
They do come organically, right? Like most referrals come organically. Asking for them, has never really I don't think it's ever really worked. But it's like it's almost like subconsciously, have you seen like subconscious programming, like not in a weird way, right? But like, subtle messaging or whatever that says like, hey, we're always like happy to work with your friends, whatever, right? Like, or, we're always looking for more investors, like things that have worked for other GPs in the past, without being gimmicky, without being salesy, without being pushed, right? Like none of this stuff, but just like more of like an organic, like messaging, that you've seen work. But, because I'm always looking for new, these are all selfish questions. So
yeah, I'll have to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
We're just on the, we just ask, you know what I mean? Like, hey, this doesn't exist without you is our messaging. I'll say that much, but I don't know on the GP side. I'll have to pay attention to that moving forward.
Yeah, it's all good, man. Cool. So, we're running up on time here. Want to make sure that we get you out of here on time. Just a couple of, like last minute things here. So where do you see because right now there's obviously a lot of volatility in the commercial real estate space in general. We are in a weird position right now with the rate environment and just geopolitical issues. The economy is, all a little bit up and down right now. So how are you gearing up for like the rest of this year going into next year? Like, what are you seeing in the space? And maybe don't call it a prediction, right? But like, what are you kind of sensing is going to happen here?
Yeah, sure. I'll tell you one thing. We're what I would say is pretty immune to market volatility. It actually helps us, right? If the market crashes and this all goes to shit, like we're people are going to write reviews. If it turns around and everyone's making so I'm sort of riding the wave both directions. And again, I think I help people prep for both directions. So yeah, man, I mean, I think we're kind of well positioned either way, right? And I think I get the same question with like the accreditation thing, like what happens if that gets revisited and things like that. I think we're good on both ends. I think we'll definitely double down on. Yeah, I don't really see it affecting us very, very poorly, right? Is like we almost become more valuable the more weird stuff happens, and so that's kind of what I'm looking at, I would say.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense, right? Because the sign of a good sponsor is the sponsor that can weather the storm.
Yeah.
And, when the waters are choppy, that creates more opportunity for those sponsors to shine. So I totally, and you're obviously like your system will kind of like pick up on that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that makes perfect sense to me. Well, Pat, before I let you go selfishly, we're going to have you leave the audience with one final investing secret. So floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah. My biggest thing I tell to everyone is when you're making investment decisions, get outside of the influence of the people that have the most to gain from your decision, right? So like when you're getting information, you're considering investing with a GP, take that, internalize it, but also leverage non-influenced sources, right? Communities, places like Invest Clearly, content and questions not written by the GP. Don't mistake social influence for social proof and get outside the influence of the person who has the most to gain from your decision. Simple as that.
And honestly, man, in the world, I love that. I mean, and especially in the world of social media where, not to name names, but honestly, sometimes the people that you see the most are the people that you should trust the least.
I had an LP one time. She's awesome. She has invested with 45 different GPs. And so I was like kind of following her review strategy, things like that. And I was like, hey, I think I kind of have an idea of your investment thesis. And she was like, yeah, honestly, what I've seen is the GPs that don't need to raise capital perform the best, meaning like those that aren't out there. And, you can't knock a GP for not everyone's like that. But I think just the world where it was so easy to influence really replaced due diligence amongst LPs, right? It replaced like their own trust checklist. And I'd love to see that reversed. It's like, yeah, they're advertising. They should be advertising. You should be doing these things. But like, don't take it as face value. There are layers beneath it that you need to look into before you actually make this decision.
100%. I could not agree more, Pat. So thanks so much for hopping on, man. And this has been super great, super informative, and look forward to Invest Clearly, just knocking it out of the park, man.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. It was a good time.
All right, man.